Hello, Facebook friends, family, loved ones, people I cherish so much, so much. So, I've talked a little bit this morning about what I'm going to do here, but I don't think I gave you a really clear idea on what's really taking place for me right now, what this is. So, first, I want to create space. I just want to create space, and I want to welcome all of you who join this video now, or maybe you're viewing it later, into this space of inclusiveness, into the space of knowing that I have no judgment in me of where you're at on your journey. I'm here to share my journey, share what I've learned, some processes that I've been going through, share some deep, intimate details of my life, things that I've faced recently, and that's what I do. I share my journey honestly. And as I go, I'm able to get more honest with myself about who I've been, what I've done, and where I am. And as honest as I am with myself, I'm allowed to be honest with you. So I just wanted to preface all of this with that. Like, this isn't about preaching. This isn't about judgment. This isn't about telling anybody how to feel, how to be. We get enough of that, right? We get enough of that in the world. And we're all just finding our way. And all ways lead to the same place. So I'm cool with where you're at. And I welcome you into my space where I'm at so I can share some things that I've learned recently with you. Man. Oh, where to begin? Okay, so let me just go backwards a little ways. I'm just going to tell you guys some stories. I haven't prepared this. Some things are going to come up. Maybe some things you didn't know about me, or things that you didn't know that I've been through, am going through, and so forth. So I'm just going to go backwards a little bit to 2016. For me was a big year of change. It was definitely a year of endings on many levels. It was a year where I ended my path in a career course that I was on. It was a year where I lost a lot of weight. I ended a lot of cycles there, right? You guys were there for that. We shared in that journey. And it was a year where the more that I released, the more that ended in me, the more neutral I became with the world around me. And just coming into the space of neutrality where I didn't have judgment, and I was able to see very clearly aspects of myself and the world around me and choose who I wanted to be in response to that, right? And several things changed for me. As the campaign trail went on, I realized even more. I mean, this knowing had been awakening in me already about what a circus it was and how I didn't want to take part in that anymore. And I had spent my entire voting life identifying myself as a Democrat, as a liberal, and I actually ended that identity as well. I took a step and I went independent and decided I'm not a part of either of those, but I was still engaged. I was still engaged in that game. Which is kind of what I see it as now, right? But I was very neutral in the aspect that I wasn't a supporter of either candidate, right? Like I couldn't get behind either one of the main runners because neither one of them aligned with me. So I'm really at a place in my life right now where I can't align with anything that doesn't align with me. Not for long, anyways. It's like this magnet. I'm drawn to that which aligns with me and my core values, and I'm pushed away from that which doesn't. And it doesn't mean that I don't love and appreciate that which doesn't align with me. It means that I see it, it's there, I acknowledge it, and then I choose to move on from it. I just choose not to play that game. I'm recognizing more and more what's taking place for me in this game of duality, right? This game of separation. And then something happened. The election took place, and man, you guys watched. I mean, a lot of you saw. There was kind of an unraveling, if you will. I went from being in this neutral place of I'm not on either side to like being fully polarized back into, my old habit self, being that liberal, being that, man, I mean, I mourned. I went through just pain, deep pain. Fear overtook me. I fully engaged in projection, blame, judgment, all of these things, right? I took on all of these and embodied them as me. And what I mean by that is most days now, I know that I'm not my emotions. Most days I know this. But through that process, I quickly fell into that polarized zone of duality where I became my emotions. I became my fear. I became my anger. And I became my sadness, right? And how I work through things is by talking about it, by putting it out there, by discussing it, if I hold things inside me, like I did the most of my life, like I become this self-destructive woman who doesn't want to be here anymore, right? And I've ended up there a few times in my life. And so I've learned to get it out and just throw it up, regurgitate whatever's in me, right? Like I take it in, and if it's ugly, it's ugly, and I let it out. And that's not always pretty. And to some people that can come across as a shock. They're like, wow, here's Lalania, or JoJo, whichever name maybe you know me by. She's always so full of just positivity. The cup is always full and all this stuff. And then boom, I'll just slap you upside the head with some ugliness because it's in me, right? Like I'm fighting my own battles. And I went there. I had put up a post, but I don't see how anybody could do this. And there was so much judgment and vile coming from me. But there was also a lot of pain. And I'm really grateful that I went through that process of allowing that to flow. And I don't hold any resentments or regrets about that. I don't hold any resentments towards anything that it ignited between me and other people I love. In fact, man, this was probably a pivotal moment for me in my own growth. There was in my sorrow, when I finally stopped trying to avoid it. And what I mean by that is I was avoiding my sorrow through projection, through yelling at what I deemed the other side, now that I had taken a side, right? Here I had a side. Oh my God, how could this happen? And anybody who supported this, how could you? And all this judgment pouring out of me. And so I'm on a side, right? And when I stopped avoiding the sadness and the confusion and the fear and the anger and these other feelings that were coming up in me through the use of projection and blame, when I stopped avoiding all that, I sat with it. And I did what I've been doing for the past 5 years on this one love journey. And I said out loud, I sat and said, sadness, you are welcome here. Anger, you are welcome here. I recognize your power. And I welcome you. And I pulled that sadness and that anger into me, into the whole of me, and I sat with it. And now that I was embracing it, I went into this deep meditative state. And I was talking to Spirit, and I was saying, I want to live. I want to live, Spirit. I want to live in a world with compassion and love where we all care for each other, Spirit. I want to live in a world with equality. I want to live in a world where peace is the norm. Like, this is what I want. And Spirit spoke back so clearly to me and said, Lalania, when are you going to take responsibility for the world that you're a vibrational match for, the world that you created? That was a powerful moment for me. There was two things that happened in that moment. One was like this immense sense of just guilt, right? And that guilt and that shame that I felt, I wanted to quickly move away from that by going, I didn't create this shit. How can you blame me? Like, most of my life I've done a lot of good stuff. Like, I wanted to move to that, but I didn't. When I hear the voice of Spirit speak through me, that holy movement that takes place, like those defenses, those ego defenses, just they just melt, right? Like they can't hold. They can't hold. And the other thing that happened to me was I wanted to fix it. I wanted to fix what I had done. Oh my gosh, you're right. Like, and I got a little bit excited, right? Because I thought, wow, all I got to do is change my vibration, right? And I can get the hell out of this reality. Like I can leave this reality. I don't have to be a vibrational match for this shit. I can move on. I'm going to change my vibration. I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do my work. So I shifted into this place of like, I'm excited. I'm going to do my work. I am out of here. See you when I see you, people. Like, I'm going to do my work. I'm going to face myself. So I started doing some deep inner shadow work and really asking God to just show me what in me is a vibrational match for this, right? And it was interesting because I had this list of things that I hated about Trump and a list of things that I hated about Hillary. And it's crazy because I've tried to like tell so many of my friends, like, I didn't support either of them. And that kind of, I've been ostracized in that sense too, right? Because I didn't support either of them. Both sides kind of blame me for a lot of stuff, or kind of discount me not having a place or an opinion because I'm no longer playing that game. Like, I refuse to believe in that anymore. I don't take part in that. I'm going to explain that a little bit more later. But I had these lists of things that I hated about Hillary and about Trump. But predominantly, it was mostly about Trump, and it was because now he had won, right? Like, he had won. So here we are. Hillary's out of the picture. Trump has won, and I'm upset, and I'm pissed, and I'm worried about my children, and I'm worried about people in my life who have fought for their rights. And, like, I want to protect everybody, right? So, and here's Trump. He's the big bad guy. And that's who I'm projecting all my anger onto and blaming for my fear. And in my efforts to like change my vibrations so I could get the hell out of this reality, I had to look at those things, and I asked deeply, Spirit, show me what is in me on this list. Show me what is in me on this list, so that I can face it, I can clear it, because I know from the past 5 years of consciously choosing to see the world around me as a mirror reflection of me, events, people, situations, all gifts, all angels coming to me to show me parts of myself that I get to work through, that this is the step, this was the next step I needed to take on this journey. And it was interesting. For example, racism. It was one of the things on the list, and I see a lot of my friends talking about Trump's racism, and so maybe this will resonate with you, maybe it won't. But I asked myself, where are these things in me? And man, oh man, was I shown. And I don't know if I was ready for it, but I was, because I went through it. So the first thing I was shown my own racism, and this was a hard pill to swallow. It was difficult for me to even think that I could be a racist. My children are biracial. I've lived my whole life being raised to love all people, but there was racism in me, and it's funny how when you ask Spirit to show you something, it really does. And what I was shown was my own racism towards my own son. My oldest son, he's 31. And you don't hear me talk about him a lot. I got pregnant with him when I was 15 years old. At a time in my life when I was running, right after I changed my name to Joe, and I left home, and I wanted to get away from all of it, right? From my mother, from her, from Lelania, I hated myself so much. And I hated the men who had sexually abused me. And I had built up a lot of self-hate in me from the things that happened to me as a child, from the abandonment, from all of it. And my mom had just gotten out of recovery, and she was ready to be a mom. She wanted to be a mom. We were flown back to Santa Cruz from Hawaii, brought back out of the foster care system, and she really wanted to be a mom. And I was 14, my sister was 11, and my sister still wanted a mom. But I was angry. I had just spent 3 years in foster care and gone through a lot of abuse, and it hurt. So I wanted to escape, and my sister, who I had been a mother to and raised, she didn't need me anymore. She had my mother now, and I felt abandoned in that sense as well. So I got pregnant. I wanted a baby, and I needed someone to take care of. All my worth was wrapped up in that, right? And I got pregnant. I was 15. I had him when I was 16. And my boyfriend, he was 19, quite a bit older than me. Turned out to be extremely abusive, but that's another story. But he was black. I had been sexually abused by white men my whole childhood, so I had serious issues with white men and no trust whatsoever. I associated. It's kind of like when you hear a woman say that she was raped by a black man, so now all black men are rapists. For me, it was the opposite. I was raped and molested by white men. So for me, all white men were disgusting and something to fear. And I was having this baby with a black man who came out white. He came out blonde hair and blue eyes. He looked more white than me. And I went through a lot of crap over that too, a lot of crap and paternity tests proving he was his father's son. But I didn't realize at the time, and I do now, I see so clearly, and I have for some time now. I started making amends on this a while ago, but not to this level, where I actually saw my own racism towards my own son for being white. And but I treated my children differently. My son, my first son, reminded me of things I was running away from, identities I was running away from, and I treated him differently. He grew up with a different treatment than his younger brother, who looks black. And I played a role in him not loving himself, not having an identity, not feeling like he fit in or belonged. And here's the thing, I didn't know it. I was in denial about this. And he, there were times in his upbringing where he would call me on it and tell me I loved his brother more. And it's funny because I used to tell my mom the same thing. I used to believe the same thing about my mother, that she loved my sister more. And the truth was I loved my children equally. But for many years, deep down inside, there was a part of me that was disappointed, that was hurt. And when I was doing this shadow work and asking to be shown what in me, why I hate this racism in Trump, where is it in me? How could I possibly be racist? And boom, there it was. I was shown like moments that I don't know if I just suppressed or forgot, or moments of raising my own son. I was shown my feelings that I couldn't even acknowledge during the time, that played a role in who he became based on an inability to love himself, and I don't mention my son much because he's serving a 14-year prison sentence right now, and he's been in there for 3 years. He turned himself in. I'm very proud of that. I got to sit across from him 3 years ago when he was going through the trial, and I got to tell him through the glass that I'm really sorry that I didn't teach you how to love yourself, because I couldn't teach you what I didn't know, and recently in the last month in a phone conversation, I got to get really honest with him about my coming to terms with my own racism and realizing that I had treated him differently, and I played such a big role in his self-esteem and him believing in himself and loving himself. And sharing this here with you today. This is part of my shadow work. This is part of my process, right? Saying it out loud and not letting it control me, not letting shame own me, not letting regret or resent reside in me, right? Letting that out. I was also shown my own misogamy, my own degrading of women. I've degraded my sisters. I have allowed myself to be objectified sexually, and I've played great roles in hurting other women, and from the simplest things like gossip, tearing each other down, to even more serious things. I was shown all of that. And this past 2 months, since November 8th, man, let me tell you, I've been going through some stuff. Seeing all these things on this list that I hated in someone else who represents something are in me. They're in me. And what started as me wanting to get the hell out of this reality, right? Like, man, I'm going to change this shit up. I'm going to become a vibrational match for something better because I want to get out of here. Turned into me really gaining a deeper understanding of why I'm here. Like, this is exactly where I need to be. Like, this is where the healing takes place. This is where I gain this truer, deeper understanding of who I am, what my worth is, what my value is, and learning how to love myself right here, despite anything I've done, anyone I've chosen to be, because I can wake up every day and get real about who I am. I didn't want to come on here and like preach to you guys about how you should feel, and I'm so tired of everybody preaching, telling us how to feel. I'm sick and tired of people saying, give him a chance. In regards to Trump, like, it's not about him. It's not about any leader. That's what I'm learning. Like, we're really being coaxed and guided right now to like feel great sorrow and sadness over the exiting president, great fear and anger over the entering one. And this is like a really well manipulated game. And when you remove yourself from it, you can see that this isn't about giving someone a chance. That still carries the vibration and the belief that everything is outside of us, controls us. Like, somebody else is responsible for the shit we're stuck in, the quicksand we're sinking in, and somebody else is going to save us from it. What I've been shown in this journey of facing my shadow is that I am the quicksand. And I'm the one who's going to walk out of it through really getting real about what put me here. You know, I look around. I'm going to share this example with you. I have two friends who I love dearly who they're almost like twins. They're very identical in so many ways, and I love them for the same reasons. Like, truly embody like the same like love of life, peace, just nothing but a desire in their life to bring light, and no confrontation, no any of that. And I've watched this polarization fully, these two beautiful individuals fully be enveloped in this polarization, and they are complete, where they used to be right here, like in so many areas resonating, they're on complete opposite ends of this polarized spectrum on two different sides now. And it's funny because when I had fallen into that polarized space of having a side, saying how could you, and all of that, like, I didn't feel like I was on a side. Like, I felt like I was fighting for the right side, right? I was fighting for the right side. And I think whenever we think we're fighting for something, we think we're fighting for the right side, but we're fighting, right? I posted earlier, I said, you know, we're fighting for, if you're fighting for who's right and who's wrong, let me ask you the question, which side, which category of right or wrong does fighting fall into? You know, because a lot of people that I see, you know, standing, and let me be very, very clear. I am not saying don't speak your truth. Speak your truth. What I'm saying is that what I'm learning, what I'm being shown through this shadow work that I'm doing, is that my truth is inside of me. My truth is about who I am and how I perceive the world. My truth is not outside of me. When I'm getting on my pulpit and I'm speaking about how you should feel, how you should react, what makes you enlightened or unenlightened, what makes you ascending or not ascending, when I'm doing all that, that's not my truth. That's my opinion. And a lot of that is to protect myself, right? It's all fear-based. If I'm telling the world how it needs to correct itself so that it can be better for me, is that really my truth? No. My truth would be, I'm scared right now. I see a lot of stuff going on. I'm not really sure how we got here, and I want to help fix it, but I just don't fucking know how. That's more honest than when I get on this soapbox and start telling people how to feel and what to think, because I'm on one side or another. Me and a good friend were having a conversation yesterday or the day before, and really just all this stuff being revealed in me and sharing, and she had brought up to me, well, what about Martin Luther King? What about Martin Luther King? He was fighting for something. And I said, you're missing the message. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, all these carried the same message. Jesus Christ, whoever, whatever prophet, whatever idea, whatever belief you hold, the people that you follow, the people that you quote, the beliefs that you say, that you wear as a badge, shared the same message. They were not fighting, they were standing and saying peace is the way, love is the way, love your enemy, love your neighbor. That was the message, right? Like, it was about equality, but about acceptance, right? So what I'm learning is that, I know you guys have heard me say this before, my truth is not necessarily the truth. It's certainly not your truth. It's an ever-evolving, ever-changing thing. And what I've come to know, especially since yesterday, I'm going to tell you what happened to me yesterday. This is so deep. So I've gone through the work of seeing my own racism, seeing my own misogamy, my own bigotry. I mean, there's several other instances, and there's a lot that I've done and a lot that I've been, and I think working through this is really getting me to a place where I'm ready to really write the parts of my book that I've been afraid to write, because if I show that side of myself to you, you might reject me. And as I move away from doing anything to be accepted, or fear, or not doing it out of fear of rejection, and just move towards being honest, telling my truth. This stuff, this is telling my truth. This is speaking my truth, right? Not speaking my truth about what I think you should do, who I think you should be, or who I think you should give a chance to trust. Speaking my truth about me, okay? As I work through all of that, as I get closer, I realize, like, I'm ready. I'm ready to share all of it. I'm ready to write it. And there's parts of my story that I've held back from. And I really see this happening in divine timing. So yesterday, I was meditating. I can't even tell you. So there was one other time, it was about 3 years ago, where I had this type of inner body experience. And when I say inner body, like, it was like outer body. Like, I went somewhere, right? But it's because I went within to go there, where the universe exists. And I was breathing into every cell of my body, and I started with my head. Hold on, did I lose you guys? No. Okay. I started with my head and breathed all the way into my toes, and just kept breathing until there was no more thoughts. And I just asked my Council of Light to assist me in going all the way within, deeper than I've ever gone. And I found myself in complete and total darkness, like a darkness I've never experienced before. A darkness where it was so dark, but it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared. There was this deep knowing that I had entered into a space in me that I have never gone in this lifetime, and that I was supposed to be there. Like, it was me, so I was safe. And something started to emerge towards me, and a little bit of fear entered me as this thing started to come toward me. And as that fear started to enter me, I almost slipped out of it. I almost just came, and then I realized like there was something that told me, this is your shadow. And I realized like I'm about to meet my shadow self, and I'm ready, and I calmed. I just kept breathing, and there I was, fully back in it. And this thing was emerging towards me, and I recognized it. It was huge. It was a beak. It was this big beak, just the color of ashes, coming towards me. And as the beak got right in front of me, I mean, literally, it was so big that I stood small in comparison to this massive beak in front of me. And as it got right up to me, I realized it was the head of the phoenix. It wasn't on fire. There was no flames. It was just ash. And I just wrapped my arms around this bird and began to stroke its forehead. And I sobbed and just couldn't stop crying. And I could taste the ashes in my mouth. I could smell them. And for like a couple hours after I came out of this experience, I could still taste ash. And shortly after, I'm sitting on my balcony, and I look behind me, right over my shoulder is this moth that is the color of ash. Like, looks like the moth is made of ashes. And I thought of how the moth is drawn to the flame. And I had just gotten guidance earlier that morning in regards to truly throwing myself in the flame. Like, the whole theme was about allowing the fire to purify me, to really burn away all these parts of myself that no longer serve me, right? The lies, the denial. And I knew then that I was ready to cut this live video, that I was ready to come here and talk to you guys and share some of this with you and reveal some of these things that have come up in me that are parts of me that I'm ready to let go of. Because I thought maybe you will get something from this. Because I'm not here to tell you what to get from it. I am here to say that if you're tired of struggling, if pointing out what is wrong and being upset and angry about it is no longer sustaining you, if seeing yourself separate on a separate side of your brothers and sisters is starting to wear on you, if you're overburdened by fear of what the future holds, I've seen so clearly with no uncertainty in me that I know I'm here on purpose, that I am infinite, and that you are, and that I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to fight out there, because the battle's in here, right? Like, that's really where it's going on. But our greatest fear is facing ourselves, meeting our soul, meeting our shadow, pulling it into the light that we are, completing that blend of the masculine, feminine, the light, the dark, and finding that balance, right? The work that's gonna set you free from all of these things that you're feeling is, for one, stop avoiding the feelings. If you're angry, sit with it, invite it in. If you can do that, you're ready to ask where it comes from. And the things that you hate in Trump, or the things you hate in Hillary, make a list of those things and find out where that exists in you, right? Like, the only way we change this world that we say we want to change is by first working on us. This is where it all exists, in us. Work on us. And then we're able to step out without preaching, without blaming, without judgment, without argument, without fear. And we're able to extend a hand and be that example of what it means to come into balance. And we're able to help others do the same. You know, for every one of us that heals, thousands of us heal. We're that connected, right? The mind is addicted to drama. The mind feeds off the global consciousness. So, like the themes that are going around right now, the fear, the hate, the separation, like, man, the mind digs that shit. The mind is like, feed me, hunger, hunger, hunger. But the heart, oh, that stuff can't even touch the heart. And it's, you know, you can look at scientific studies now and they've proven that the heart actually has its own neural pathways and memory. And move into your heart. Move into your heart. Love yourself enough to face the parts of yourself. You know, anybody who says, I'm not a racist, I'm not a bigot, I support gays, I don't judge people, like, is that true? Is that really true? Because I know I said all that too. But there's parts of me that were there that I was denying. Parts that affected the mother that I was. And I can't take that back. But I can move on from it. And learn. And I believe that we all volunteered. I chose my mom and I chose well. She taught me so much. She's a brilliant writer and artist and activist spirit, and I gained all that from her. She taught me to love all people. And now I do. And I say now because there was a long period of my life where I didn't trust white people, specifically white men. So I was racist too. Just not as easily recognized, right? I've done a lot of self-degrading things in my life. I've hurt others. I've had to look at that, you know, and get real about it. Does it define me? No, because we are not defined by what we've done or who we've been. We did all that on purpose. That's how we learn. How do we get to who we are through going through who we're not? So if you, like me, want to escape this reality, because that's how it started, and I don't want out anymore. I'm cool. I'm cool here. Like, I've come to this knowing, like, whoo, this is exactly where we're supposed to be right now. This is exciting, right? Like, I'm not even buying into any of that stuff. Man, I am like, okay, all right, this is what I needed. This is what I signed up for. I created this. I created this. I didn't acknowledge stuff that was in me. I wanted people to save me. I wanted people to blame. I played the game, right? Okay, so now let's do this, because at the end of the day, there is no end. I'm infinite, and so are you, right? January 27th, we're entering into a new Chinese zodiac year. It's the year of the Phoenix, the year of the fire Phoenix, and that's so appropriate. This is a really good year to focus on health and money, but even more importantly, this year, by several different circles, several different beliefs, really stands out. For one, it's a number one year. It's a year of beginnings, right? So if you're still working on endings, because 2016 was all about endings, let's clean them up. Clean them up. Let's work on those endings, right? Take the battle that you're fighting out there. Pull it into you. Bring it inside. You can deal with that. You can do that. I want to open up for questions, because I've got about 10 more minutes here, and I want to give you guys the opportunity to, if you have anything that you want to say or ask, I'm going to go to that now. I'm going to read what's on here so far, if I can. Let's see. I don't know how to make this scroll. I love you too, Kim. I love you, honey. Wow, Heather. That feels good to say that, doesn't that? But I'll tell you that you are not your emotions. So I am angry is not accurate. I am experiencing feeling anger. A lot. A whole freaking lot. That'd be a better way to put it, because you are not your emotions. We are not our emotions. We are infinite spirit, right? Our emotions are things that we experience for the sake of our own growth. Kim, there you go. So that was for you too. My battle is that there are certain things that have happened in my life that I'm not okay with, and everyone wants me to settle and let things go. But I have not but it's not settled well with me because it's not okay what happened. Okay, I feel that deeply, Heather, and I understand that. Growing up as a genuine victim, I mean, I think we can all agree that as a child, for a child to experience abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, abuse, you would consider that child a victim, right? That's a logical assumption to make. But carrying that throughout my life, that victim archetype that became me, I became the victim. And it's so funny because throughout that, I didn't call myself a victim. I called myself a survivor. That's the words I use, that I'm a survivor. And I created these perpetual cycles where I could be the victim again and again and again because I had identified with being the victim, and that's who I believe myself to be. Heather, a really good book that I would suggest that you get would be Radical Forgiveness. So that's my gift to you today. Read Radical Forgiveness and read it all the way through to the end and do the worksheets. And I promise you that if you fully read that book and do those worksheets, you'll be able to work through some things. The thing is, we're not just supposed to let it go. Do you guys ever get tired of someone telling you let it go? No. Let it flow. Replace go with flow. Let it flow because it will go naturally on its own as it flows. People saying get over it, let it go, like that's not helpful. And that brings me back to another point, because we've heard a lot of that lately from one side of the equation politically to the other. Let it go, get over it. And then on the other side, and this is real talk right here, you guys. I want you to digest this, okay? And then you can spit it out if you don't feel it. But I want you to think about this. You have one side over here who is hoping Trump fails because they want everybody who supported him to learn their lesson. And then you have this other side over here who is hoping Trump succeeds because they feel they have suffered for the past 8 years and now it's the other side's turn. And they want to prove they were right. So you have two sides hoping for a lot of suffering. Man, wow. That's where we're at. We're wishing on our brothers and sisters suffering so we can be right. So we can prove we're right. That we made the right choice or that they made the wrong choice, and still giving our power away. Still giving our power away. Playing into the religion of politics and this belief that everything is outside of ourselves. We're controlled by what events take place outside of ourselves, and then we should wait for somebody to save us. Give him a chance. That's another thing that feeds that idea that we're supposed to sit and wait for somebody else to do something that's going to make our lives better. We're not giving him a chance. No. Let's get to work right now, because it doesn't really matter what he does or who he appoints or any. It's going to play out the way it's going to play out, but it will change in the future as we change. You see, they have to change because they are a physical manifestation, a mirror match of what is in us that is unaddressed, what is in us that we deny, what is in us that we point out in our brothers and sisters. So instead of giving anybody a chance or getting over anything or any of that other, advice that we give people that holds no vibration of compassion, understanding, unity, inclusion, let's get to work. And if you're ready, let's do it. Let's get to work. If you want help, reach out to me. Reach out to me. I deal with this type of stuff in my coaching, but this is all stuff you can do on your own. And my ability to access divine guidance is not some exclusive gift. Like, it's in you. It's in all of us, and you know this. There comes a point when you have to get out of the victim boat when you reach the other shore. Yeah, that's good. I like that. That is a great quote. How about the folks that want everyone to be better off? Explain what you mean by that. Andrea, what do you mean by how about the folks who want everyone to be better off? We have the opportunity every day to make each other's lives better. Thank you for your words. Thank you. I love you. I'm not sure what you mean about the folks who want everyone to be better off. Oh, are you saying, how about the people that are wishing everybody joy and happiness and love? Hoorah! Hoorah! And that would bring me to the light workers. And I know some of you, and there's many I don't know, and maybe the universe will bring this video to you. This really is a call to us to really go deep into our own work. And you know, here's the thing: when you start, when you take on that label, light worker, and you realize, like, wow, I'm here to impact change in the world. Like, I'm here to do some stuff. I got some messages to share, and you have your whole life, you've had that deep inner drive to like change the world, right? Especially us, we don't get to avoid the inner work. And we're not here to preach, and we're not here to tell other people what's right, what's wrong, how to live, who's enlightened, who's not, who's got the right path, who's got the wrong path. Because if we're preaching any of that, we're not actually practicing what we say we follow. Right? If we're getting real with ourselves. If we're preaching about how others are wrong and telling them what they need to do to get right, we are judgment. So we're not really practicing what we preach. We're again diverting and avoiding. And that usually comes from a place of wanting to change the world. But how we change the world is by working within. By changing ourselves. Thank you, Judith. I received that. You know, Kim, I don't really believe in getting rid of the negative because I see negative and positive as the same thing. Good and bad is the same thing. Light and dark, up and down. I've come to know that they're all the same. And what I mean by that is negative and positive cannot exist without each other. So the goal for me is to pull what I would deem negative or bad, you know, because we like to label everything, into the center of me, right? Where the positive is, where the light is, and absorb it all, right? So that I can find that balance between negative and positive. My shadow self has served me greatly in aspects of my life. And one of the things that I got to do in that meditation yesterday was to thank it. Because there's been times that my shadow has protected me, and my shadow has also served me greatly in areas where I've been competing for something or needing to be strong and use my voice, right? Or the times when I needed to experience fighting, standing up for myself, when I thought that was being my truth and standing up for my truth, right? Like, those were all good experiences. Not one thing that I'm sharing here with you today is anything that I would redo, because my son signed up for me, just like I signed up with my mother. I believe that. I know that in my heart, that he's growing through his experience just like I'm growing through mine, healing, becoming purified, becoming that which I already was, but through experience, knowing it on a deeper level. So let's pull it into us, right? I've started consciously choosing to just be the loving witness on Facebook. Facebook is an amazing tool, right? So where I wasn't scrolling my newsfeed, because you guys remember I had to get the heck off of Facebook. I couldn't take it when I was in that fully polarized zone of having a side. But now that I'm neutral again and back in a space, like, I am literally using Facebook to be the loving witness, to hold space, to allow my brothers and sisters to go through whatever stage they need to go through of that polarized state of I'm on this side or I'm on that side, because I see it so clearly now that I don't have a side at all, that I really am back in neutral and just facing me, because I'm doing my work. Where does what I don't like? Okay, I see what I don't like. Where's that in me? Let's work it out. It's painful. I work it out. I don't let it go. I let it flow, right? So now, when I see that taking place in others, I don't feel the need to judge. I don't have to look away. I can let people have their process. And I can hold that loving space for them to do it with non-judgment. And then I can wish for them everything that I wish for myself. So now, not only am I working on me, facing my shadow self, and doing this deep, deep work, now I'm no longer telling you what you need to do. Rather, I'm looking, I'm acknowledging, I'm holding space, and I'm sending love. So that's my work in the world right now. And that's my work here in my world. So I want to thank you so much for listening to me today, and for letting me share that, because this video is truly part of my shadow work. Being able to say out loud things that we don't want to admit and love ourselves right there. It takes away the power that any guilt or shame or resentment or regret could hold over us. Allows us to be free. So that is my gift to you guys today. And I love you. I love you with all of my heart, as you are, where you are. We're okay. We're okay. We're all exactly where we need to be to get what we need to get so that we can take the next step. All right. Beautiful ladies and gentlemen, I love you all. You guys have an amazing day.